This happened 5 years ago when my friend Ada and I encountered something strange and eerie while camping. Our destination was a remote, rarely visited valley. We drove for over 10 hours and then hiked another 5 hours to get there. As soon as we arrived, a breathtaking natural landscape unfolded before us. Crystal clear water, rolling mountains, and fresh air all around. It was like a place where immortals would live. Ada and I started fishing. The valley was filled with the constant sounds of insects and birds, but gradually, I began to sense some strange noises mixed in with the sounds of nature. The more I listened, the more it sounded like human voices. I asked Ade, "Do you think anyone else has come here?" Ade replied, "Bro, how many times have I told you? I'm the only one who knows about this place." Unwilling to give up, I looked around, and to my surprise, I spotted a man in a patch of grass staring at us. He was dressed in tattered clothes that looked like they were made from animal skins. His eyes were vacant, and he seemed to be holding some raw animal meat in his hand. I was startled and shouted at him, asking who he was, but he didn't say a word and just kept making those strange insect-like noises. Both of us were so scared that we got goosebumps all over and hurriedly took out our phones to call the police. But just then, he suddenly vanished into the forest. We were feeling really uneasy, wondering if we should just leave, but after all the trouble we went through to get here, how could we be willing to just go home like that? Somehow we decided to just forget about what happened and went on barbecuing and fishing, having a pretty good time, and then got ready to go to sleep. But that night, I was woken up by a piercing scream and realized it was Ade howling. I rushed over to his tent immediately. The man we saw during the day, along with a few others, were grabbing Ade's arms and legs, forcefully dragging him out. They were using all their strength as if they were trying to tear his limbs off. I could even hear the sound of bones being torn apart. Trembling all over, I grabbed my phone and called the police immediately, but I couldn't make a sound. I could only gasp for breath and barely manage to utter a few words. The police did respond, but I knew it would be a while before they got here. I was well aware that I would be next, so I ran into the woods like a madman. At that moment, Ade's scream stopped, and I could feel that he was already dead. I ran frantically while crying, barefoot because there was no time to put on shoes. My feet were rubbed raw, and blood was streaming out. After a while, I heard the sound of sirens. The police had finally arrived. But the terrifying thing was, only the upper half of Ade's body was left in the tent. His arms and legs had been torn off. Everyone was shocked by this horrifying scene. The police immediately began their investigation. A few days later, they told me that the murderer had been caught. It was a family living in the mountains, completely cut off from the outside world, who had survived by herding and hunting animals in the mountains. Because they had lived for so long in the valleys and along the cliffs, their grip was incredibly strong. A few of them tore off Ade's limbs with their bare hands. Their language abilities had almost completely degenerated, making normal communication impossible. But when the police used sign language to ask them where Ade's limbs were, they pointed to their own stomachs, made an eating gesture, then pointed to the police officer's limbs and made a gesture indicating they wanted to eat them too. They were locked up in prison and had to be kept in complete isolation. Because in their eyes, any living creature they saw was food.